I'm here to talk about tourism and food. You know, the two great things that we all love. Some of us might not be able to get away from the farm, and I'm sorry, but you know, tourism is a fantastic thing. I think it's a great career. You know, it's all beer and Skittles for me. I get to go to talks, I get to go to food things, drink beers and talk to people, and I love it. But what I do love is I love this region. I love the opportunity that is abound and plentiful in this region. And that's not just about the experiences such as going to Rainbow Beach, driving along to Double Island Point, or down in the Mary Valley and seeing some of the rivers and a town like Imbil with the trees in full bloom and so forth. Some of my other niches, and the one that I really like a lot, is the food niche. Food tourism is enormous. Tourism is one of the four pillars of the state economy. That's great. The opportunity for growth with food and tourism is fantastic. So I've got some facts and figures here from Tourism Australia and some of the research they've done around food tourism. So I'll just sort of run through some of these when you have a look at tourism in the Gympie region is worth approximately $120 to $130 million. There are 174 tourism businesses in the region. And agribusiness, which is really the number one business sector for this region, and actually number one business sector in the world, agribusiness is worth $225 million to the Gympie region. When you look at that on a national focus, tourism is a $100 billion industry. 70 billion of that comes from domestic tourism, so Australians travelling within Australia. Agribusiness is a $219 billion industry, according to the figures I saw. So when you look at that they're big numbers, and they're good numbers, and the numbers that we have to play with. And wherever we can come together, we're obviously going to increase that platform and increase the awareness and the opportunity. Over a third of tourism spending is on food. So it makes sense, doesn't it, when you're on holiday, you're lying there having your cocktail or whatever, and you think, what are we going to eat tonight? Where are we going to go for lunch? What are we going to do? So a third of all tourism spending is on food. So if you looked at nationally, it's a $100 billion industry, tourism. There's $30 billion going into food from those tourists. You're all partners in the food industry of this region. Your competitors are the Barossa Valley, the Margaret River, Hunter. You know, here together, we're all one person. The same guy who's down the road doing the same thing, he's not a competitor. He is somebody that you can work with. So food tourism is one of the most dynamic segments in the tourism market. Food is, and many things I'm going to say here have been mentioned before by the speakers before, which is fantastic because it's about reinforcement of message. I think they say you've got to hear something 13 times before it sinks in, so we might get there. Food is an important part of promoting your culture. It's about diversity, it's about quality, it's about freshness, and it gets emotive responses. And so therefore then if they eat something that is branded from the Gympie region, automatically they're starting to think, oh, fresh, nice, diverse. So a few facts and figures. I like my facts and figures. I never like stats, but I like interesting facts and figures. A third of the world's land surface is devoted to agriculture. Now that's probably at the expense of our poor mates in Borneo swinging through the trees, unfortunately, but that's the size of the agribusiness industry. When we gave Matt the grand title of Food and Culinary Tourism Ambassador, I've done subsequent research, and we probably gave him a bad term because food tourists don't associate with the term culinary. Only 8% of food tourists see themselves as culinary because they see that as elitist. When really food tourism and tourism now is about real experiences. It's about experiencing and doing things that I used to with my parents, or going back to the old school style. So we might review, in your review, look at your title. Yeah, maybe. One in 6 people in Queensland is employed in tourism. So it's very much the tourism state for the nation. Now, there are opportunities there too with the mining downturn. They might say mining downturn, there goes the state, but there's opportunity for tourism enterprise to grow and other new market segments to grow as well. And this is one of those. There's great opportunity there. So these people will be coming off the mines, they might buy a place or do something. So there's real opportunity where there's a bad, sometimes there's a good. So people spend internationally around the world, people spend $300 billion a year on food tourism. That's events, that's tourism, restaurants and so forth. So it's an enormous industry. On the next page, we've got here some international facts and figures about the motivators. It's very, very important. There's a couple of tourism terms we've used before. That's the experiences. That's authentic. It's real. Things that we used before. And another one of them is connectors. You're a connector if you're in tourism because you're promoting. We're all ambassadors to a region. You're a connector. And the other one is motivators. So these are basically what are the motivators that make people come to Australia. So this is research done by Tourism Australia. When you look at it, what do they think of when they're selecting a holiday destination? Well, they think of safety and security, and actually Australia is ranked number 1 in the world for safety and security on international tourism. They think of value for money. That is something where Australia misses a little bit because of the high dollar and the high cost of production and goods and so forth. They think of beauty and nature. That's a big tick for us. 4, food, wine, local cuisine and produce. So that's very big motivator. So something to look at going forward if you are going to do the farm gate experience, and I think that Malcolm might have touched on this, is that look at the motivators. What is going to motivate somebody to come to my property? Is it going to be just my storyboards while they're pretty? Well, the fact is it's a whole range of things that are going to be the motivators. Is there a good accommodation within the region, and do you have a relationship with those people? Well, yes, tick. What other things can I go around there? Is there a market the next day, or is there something else I can go and experience? Tick. So look at the motivators that you can bundle together in a really good package for your farm gate. That's really going to help you sell your product. Looking at some other things, when you look at the most appealing Australian attractions, the top 7 are coloured green because I designated that they're about the nature. It's the beaches, it's the wildlife, it's the Great Barrier Reef, it's rainforests, it's an island experience. Even the size and diversity really is about Australia's nature. So the first point after natural aspects is food and wine. So that's quite a high ranking then when you look at it. So that's really good. So food comes first after nature when people think about Australia. Also on the next page, if you're following with me, ding. Internationally, Restaurant Australia, this is where Restaurant Australia campaign came about, where there is a perception gap, perception versus reality. There is a gap on tourists when they think of Australia and they think about food in Australia. Australia, for people who hadn't visited Australia or haven't visited at all, they don't rank Australia very highly on the food and wine ranking index. They think of your classic countries, France, Italy, even Japan, Thailand, great food destination. Australia ranks 10. But once people have visited here and then they get asked to rank again, in half a dozen of the ranks, you see that China, the USA, UK and India, they rank Australia as the number 1 food and wine destination in the world. So, but there's those destinations, but worldwide, after people have visited here, Australia ranks 3rd in the world for people who have been here. So there's a perception gap. So those people who haven't been here yet don't rank it so highly, but once they've been here and they've experienced the destination, they've had those experiences around the food, the beach, the outback, sitting there having local beef, looking at Ayers Rock or whatever, they rank Australia as the 3rd best destination in the world behind France and Italy. Historically, France and Italy have always been there. In Australia, we're just an upstart, really, aren't we? So that's a great ranking. So with that perception gap, Tourism Australia looked at that and thought, we've got to do something to close that gap. And so they came up with the Restaurant Australia campaign that Malcolm touched on again. So Restaurant Australia is poorly termed. It's not about Restaurant Australia, it's about Food Australia. It's not just about the restaurants, it's about the primary producers, it's about the freshness and the quality and the diversity of our product. So don't be thrown off by that title, Restaurant Australia. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram and so forth, and you're taking photos, I noticed that the guys here, and they're very, very good with it too. So too is Melinda at Rhodavale. I'm still think about that image that she put of the beautiful pork she had in her oven with the crackling, and I thought I was looking at that thinking fantastic, and I was looking for a little suckling pig out the back here now going around. But so if you haven't seen the Restaurant Australia ad, I love it. I look at it and it almost brings a tear to my eye. It's like that other one, with the old Qantas ad with the choir or sort of thing. The Restaurant Australia ad brings a similar emotional experience out on me and a sense of pride So if you haven't seen it, look on YouTube and type in Restaurant Australia. I think there's a 30-second, a 60-second, and a 2-minute or something like that. Go the whole hog. Go the 2-minute because it's great. Yeah, it's very, very good. Yeah, indeed. And that's actually the term I used then in Pride. Actually, was something I wanted to use in when I was thinking. Oh, I hope I just didn't turn it off. That's a thing in my pocket. So I wanted to use. I do like my food. I always was thing with Matt too is with the pride, because one of the things we wanted to do with Matt too is get some pride in the region, get some pride in what we have as a destination from a producer and from a tourism exercise, because we're all ambassadors for the region, not only just for your food but also for tourism. So it's great to see the people here and some real pride in what you're doing. Ding, across on to the next one. Now we're looking at some domestic numbers. The highest ranking one in the definitely encouraged me to travel is the Food and Wine Festival, but overall it actually ranks quite midstream, which is quite an interesting thing. Food and wine experiences are, you look at the Noosa Food and Wine Festival, you look at some of those iconic things, and it's been so good for Noosa because it really meets their brand and their brand promise very well, because when you think of Noosa as a brand promise, it promises the beach, it promises high food, it promises quality, and the Food and Wine Festival meets all of that very, very well. We can leverage off those type of things. We don't have to go out there and make our own Food and Wine Festival and try to compete. We can leverage off the success of that, and we should be talking to, and we will be talking with Jim and some of the organisers there about having tours from there up into here. So we've got to look at how we can leverage off successes, not go and create our own, because it takes a bloody lot of money, time and effort to create a big food festival like that. But let's ride the coattails of that. Interesting though too, food, the winery, or visiting the wineries and wine regions, ranks very low as well with no impact. Oh, very highly with no impact. So sorry, that's visiting the wineries and the wine regions. So it's both ends of the spectrums there. So, but casual dining or experiences in unique Australian locations, overall that ranked the highest. So we're talking there about casual dining. We're not high end. We're talking about real experiences with real food with real people, and that's something that this region can really offer. So that's really good there. Another fact about the festivals: 2.7%. People attend 2.7 events a year. So it's not a really big, high on people's agenda to go to massive amounts of festivals. But 67% of tourism experiences are referred by word of mouth. So if you get somebody there, look after them. They're not just a guest. They're not just, treat them like family or treat them like something quite special, because if they go back and they talk, people will come. People will really come. Also domestically, looking at some facts and figures here, the barriers to taking a trip around food and wine. Some of these stand out, they're quite obvious, and that's number one, poor value for money. Very, very important there with that, getting your pricing point right with the product that you're offering. If the guy down the road is charging $80 a night, or $180 a night, and he's got, giving you 2 bedrooms and a spa bath and coming in with a back massage every night, and you've only got a donger at the back, you can't charge the same. We see that sometimes with the tourism industry, but get your pricing right with whatever you're doing. It's very important. Some people are not aware of what is available. It's a straight communication thing. So your storyboards or your marketing tools, your Facebook, your website. Get the storage right. Get it simple. Get some images on there. Tell them your story. In the wrong place. Now, I find that one a very interesting one. Barriers to taking a trip and food around wine. It's in the wrong place. Well, sorry, it's not around your corner. But the thing is, with that, we can get around the destination problem by having it in the wrong place, by bundling a good package that ticks those motivators. So you can talk them out of it. So look at what you're doing on that side. So also, just in summary here, I'll just wrap it up. Australia and indeed the Gympie regions, food and local produce is one of its greatest assets. There's no doubt about that. Be proud of it, and let's and we're really coming together and talking about it collaboratively and as a group, And that's a fantastic step, because we need a bigger voice. We need a bigger voice in council to continue with Matt, because if he's getting poached by Logan, we don't want him to go there. And Matt probably doesn't want to go to the Truth Nome, but anyway. But collaboratively, the louder the voice we can make, the more we're going to be heard. And it was fantastic to go to the Meet the Makers, the media launch for the Good Food and Wine Show. Half of the producers at that Meet the Makers media launch were from the Gympie region. I walked in there and I was so proud, and it was a fantastic experience. Even Matt Moran is going, he said, "What's with Gympie region?"
And it was all girls.
That's what I liked about it most. No, it was really good. It was fantastic to be there, and that sense of pride and seeing our producers there, talking to people, getting interviewed by Country Life or whatever it was, and so forth. Great. So there's a need to close the perception gap. There's even, from a national perspective, Tourism Australia needs to, and Destination Gympie and the Gympie Gold Regional Produce brand, we need to close the perception gap as well, because Gympie, one of the reasons I chose that stat there, Gympie sits like Australia does with that perception gap. People don't see it really as a strong food destination, but the reality is it is a good food destination, and we need to close that gap, and we need the help with closing that gap from you guys, but also just as much from the accommodation operators who use local produce and who are proud to say, bang, made in the Gympie region. So, and we need to create that opportunity and a reason to travel, those motivators, we spoke about that. And the food and wine experience is well all good. It's got to be affordable, accessible, and promoted well in advance. Anything you're going to do, don't think I'll do it next month. Think I'm going to do that in 6 months' time. I've got to start marketing it now. Give people time to think about what you're going to do. So, it's fantastic. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you very much. You've got to remember, it's about product development, it's about relationship development, and it's about remembering that we're all ambassadors for everybody, every other food producer in this region, and for this region as a tourism destination. Thank you.